She walked through fire. She rode dragons. She was the breaker of chains, the mother of dragons, the last hope of a fallen dynasty. And for a time, she was our hero. Daenerys Targaryen was not just a character. She was a symbol of justice, of freedom, of destiny fulfilled. Fans followed her rise with awe, cheered her victories, and believed in her dream to build a better world. But then, everything changed. By the end of Game of Thrones, Daenerys wasn't the savior anymore. She was the destroyer. Her fire didn't just bring liberation, it brought ruin. The ashes of King's Landing weren't just the end of her enemies, they were the end of her dream. And fans were left stunned. How did we get here? How did the woman who freed slaves, toppled tyrants, and inspired millions become the very thing she swore to fight? Was it bad writing? Or was it always coming? In this video, we're going to trace the full journey of Daenerys from her beginnings as a frightened girl in exile to her final flight on the back of dragons. We'll explore how her triumphs shaped her, how her losses scarred her, and why her story is more tragic than most ever realized. Because Daenerys Targaryen wasn't just a queen, she was a warning that even the purest flames can burn everything they touch. We rooted for her not because she was perfect, but because she was broken and kept going. Because in a world filled with cruelty, Daenerys seemed like the one who could end it all. Not with politics or compromise, but with fire and conviction. She made us believe that power could be used righteously, that a queen could be merciful and strong, fierce and kind, that the world could be burned down and rebuilt better. We watched her go from a pawn to a player, from a girl sold into marriage to a ruler feared across continents. She earned everything, but somewhere along the way a vision began to crack. Not all chains can be broken cleanly. Not all enemies stay in front of you, and not all heroes make it to the end. Her journey wasn't just about destiny, it was about identity, control, and the cost of absolute belief in your own righteousness. That's why her story matters, because it's not just about what she did, it's about what we saw and chose to ignore until it was too late. Daenerys was born in exile, the last surviving child of the Mad King. A name, a crown, and nothing else. She had no army, no allies, no power. She was a pawn in her brother Viserys, game sold like cattle to Khal Drogo in exchange for the promise of an army. But fate had other plans. Daenerys didn't break, she adapted. She learned. She survived, and slowly she began to lead. First, through gentleness, then through strength. She earned the loyalty of a Dothraki horde. She found love, then loss, and when Drogo died, she walked into his funeral pyre and emerged with 3 dragons. It was more than a spectacle. It was a rebirth. From that fire, a queen was born. What followed was a campaign of liberation. Daenerys stormed through Slaver's Bay, freeing the oppressed, toppling tyrants, and building her legend. She didn't just want a throne, she wanted to be worthy of it. Her titles grew. Khaleesi, breaker of chains. Misa, she gathered an army not through fear but through vision, through justice, through fire that burned for the right reasons. We saw her crucify the masters of Mir, burn the cows who sought to control her, ride dragon into battle like a goddess of old. She was unstoppable, and we cheered her because she fought for the ones no one else would. She promised a new world, one where power served the people, not enslaved them. But with every victory, something else grew too. Confidence, conviction, certainty. She stopped asking for permission, and as her power grew, so did the stakes. She wasn't just freeing cities anymore. She was reshaping history. But even then, we believed in her, because Daenerys Targaryen wasn't just conquering kingdoms. She was conquering fate, and fate, for a Targaryen, is a dangerous thing. Because in every step forward, Daenerys carried more than ambition. She carried a legacy drenched in fire and blood. She was told it was her right. She was told it was her destiny. And so, every city she liberated, every army she commanded, every enemy she destroyed, it all seemed to confirm the same truth. She was chosen. But being chosen is a lonely path. She lost her family, heir, lovers, heir, advisors. Again and again, she paid for power with grief, but she kept moving forward. For her people, for the throne, for the dream of a better world. She crossed deserts, survived betrayals, endured rebellion. And still she rose. By the time she arrived in Westeros, Daenerys was no longer the exiled princess. She was a queen, and the world was finally watching. In Westeros, Daenerys was met with skepticism. She wasn't a native. She wasn't trusted. Her dragons were seen as weapons, her advisors as foreigners, her army as invaders. But she still believed in her mission. She didn't just want to take the Iron Thrones, she wanted to fix what was broken. To end the cycle of cruelty, to break the wheel. And at first, her methods were calculated. She listened to Tyrion. She spared cities. She sought alliances. She loved Jon Snow, but the cracks were already forming. Every time someone questioned her rule, she remembered Essos where she was adored. Every time the lords of Westeros hesitated, she felt the weight of legacy, the burden of being a woman, a foreigner, a Targaryen. The people loved Jon. They feared her, and so her justice became sharper. Her mercy showed her. She executed Randall and Dickon Tarly for refusing to bend the knee. A message, a warning, a shift. We still hoped she'd find balance, that her love for Jon, her belief in justice, would keep her grounded. But love is fragile, and so is faith. Missandei's death shattered her trust. Jorah's sacrifice left her unguarded. Varys' betrayal lit a fire that never went out. Daenerys stopped waiting. She unleashed Dragon, not just as a weapon but as judgment. And when King Eslandon surrendered, she burned it anyway. It wasn't strategy. It was grief. It was fury. It was belief, twisted into vengeance. The wheel wasn't broken. It was incinerated. And the queen who once saved the world became its terror. Daenerys didn't become a villain. In a moment, she evolved into one step by step, loss by loss, flame by flame. Not because she stopped believing in her cause, but because she believed in it too much. That's what makes her tragedy so powerful and so painful. We saw it coming, but we didn't want to believe it. She wasn't evil. She was certain. She thought she knew what was right. And when the world resisted her vision, she destroyed it. Because in her eyes, mercy for the guilty meant cruelty for the innocent. Compromise meant corruption. Delay meant more suffering. And if no one else had the strength to do what was necessary, she would. That is the savior complex. The belief that only you can fix the world. That your pain justifies your power. That you don't just hold the answer you are. The answer you. Daenerys crossed every line for what she believed was good. And in the end, she stood alone on the ashes of a city, convinced it was worth it. That's not madness. That's conviction without reflection, and it's one of the most terrifying things a person can have. After the fire, there was only silence. Ashes rained down like snow. The bells had rung. The city had surrendered, and Daenerys stood atop the rubble like a conqueror carved in flame. To some, it was madness. To others, it was betrayal of her character, of her journey, of everything she had stood for. But was it really a betrayal? Or was it the culmination? Daenerys' descent didn't begin at King's Landing. It began long before in Carthagen Marion, even in the Red Waste. Every time she faced injustice, she answered with fire, and we applauded her for it, because her enemies were slavers, murderers, tyrants, until they weren't. Until her enemies became simply those who didn't believe in her. That's not a character break. That's a character arc. So didn't invent her downfall. It revealed Italiano. Daenerys was always walking a line between savior and conqueror, between freedom and vengeance, between justice and wrath. Her love for Jon Snow was supposed to ground her, but when she realized he had a better claim to the throne and that the people loved him for it, her isolation deepened. She said it herself. Let it be fear. And fear is a terrible crown. In the final moments of her reign, Daenerys still believed she was doing good. She looked at the burned ruins, not with guilt but with resolve. "This is mercy," she said. To her, fire was purification. She wasn't mad. She was absolute, and that's what made her so dangerous. Because the worst tyrants are the ones who think they're saving the world. Her descent wasn't a fall, it was a flight. One she'd been taking for years. We just refused to see where it was headed. We cheered when she burned slavers, not realizing we were cheering the method, not just the message. We overlooked the warning signs to executions, the threats, the inflexible worldview because we believed in her purpose. She made us feel hopeful in a hopeless world. But idealism without checks becomes zealotry. And when everyone around her was Gonko Drogo Sir Baris Danjora, Miss Andy, there was no one left to challenge her. Only followers. Only believers. That isolation turned conviction into doctrine. That's why her story matters. Not because she snapped, but because she didn't. Because her descent was logical, tragic, and terrifyingly human. Because in her mind, she never stopped being the hero. And sometimes, the scariest villain is the one who still thinks they're resaving you. Daenerys' legacy is one of contradictions. She freed thousands but ruled by fear. She loved deeply but trusted little. She dreamed of a better world but built it on ashes. And yet her story resonates. Because it's not about right or wrong. It's about what happens when power, pain, and purpose collide. She wasn't a villain we hated. She was a hero we lost, and that's why it hurts. Her story reflects the danger of unchecked belief, the seduction of destiny, the cost of justice when wielded without compassion. But it also reflects our own hopes that someone strong and good could change everything, that one person could fix a broken world. We wanted Daenerys to win, not just for the throne but for us. For every viewer who felt powerless, for every dreamer who believed in revolution. That's the tragedy. Not that she changed, but that she didn't. She stayed on the same path while the world shifted around her, and in the end, her story became a warning. Power without restraint is still tyranny, no matter how beautiful the dream, and even fire can leave only ruins behind. Her downfall challenged us to confront our own complicity. We celebrated her fire until it burned something we loved. We believed in her until belief became blind. And we mourned her not because she died, but because she became something we never imagined, but maybe we should have. Her story reminds us that no one is beyond consequence. That ideals must be questioned, that love must be earned, that even the strongest hearts can lose their way. Daenerys Targaryen is unforgettable not because she was flawless, but because she was fire. Brilliant, consuming, devastating. And in her flames, we saw both our greatest hopes and our deepest fears. So what can we learn from Daenerys Targaryen? That power is not destiny. That belief is not truth. That even the brightest flames can lose their way in the dark. Her story is more than just a rise and fall. It's a reflection of what we admire, of what we ignore, of what we excuse in the name of greatness. She was loved, feared, worshipped, mourned. She was everything at once, and in the end she was alone. That's the cost of absolute vision. But it's also the mark of a compelling character. Daenerys wasn't perfect. She was human, and her humanity is what makes her story unforgettable. Because in her triumphs, we saw hope, and in her downfall, we saw ourselves. If this video made you feel something, share it, like it, subscribe to the channel, and drop a comment. What do you think was Daenerys' turning point? Let's talk. Because stories like this aren't meant to be forgotten. They're meant to be remembered, questioned, felt, and passed on. Thanks for watching, and remember, sometimes the most powerful characters are the ones who leave us burned. Fire can inspire, but it can also consume. And in Daenerys, we saw both. She lit the way forward, but also left shadows behind. That duality is why her journey matters. because it forces us to ask not just what we want from our heroes, but what we're willing to overlook to keep believing in them.